She was a deadly piece of wire. A woman passing by got scratched, and blood flowed uncontrollably. But she didn't take it seriously. She went to the riverbank, soaked her feet, and rinsed the wound with river water. After returning home, she was surprised to find her calf had begun to swell, turn red, and fester. So she quickly tore off expired bread, soaked it in warm water, squeezed out moisture, kneaded it into a ball, and placed it on the wound, then tightly wrapped it with a cloth strip. After finishing, she started her busy day. But the simple daily chores usually easy for her felt overwhelming. She was extremely weak and exhausted. Just then, the town doctor came. He wanted to ask her husband to fix his carriage, but her husband had already left early with the children for a trip. At that moment, the doctor noticed the woman's face was flushed and she was barefoot. So he asked if she was unwell, but Suehua replied it was just the hot weather. Before the doctor could ask any further, a villager suddenly rushed over in a panic, saying that his child had accidentally broken his leg and urgently needed medical attention. Upon hearing this, the doctor immediately went with him, and just like that, Suehua missed her only chance to save her life. By late at night, a heavy rainstorm began outside, and the woman's condition worsened further. She started running a high fever, her whole body turned red, and she broke out in a cold sweat. Just then, she suddenly noticed that one of the cows at home had run out, so despite feeling unwell, she hurried outside to bring the cow back. But to her surprise, the cow was being stubborn. No matter how hard she pulled, it wouldn't budge an inch. Soon, the cold rain had soaked her to the bone, and this made Suehua, who already had a high fever, start to lose consciousness. But just as she was trying to get back inside, she fainted from exhaustion. At that moment, her husband and child were not with her. No one knows how much time passed, but Suehua was startled awake by a clap of thunder. She quickly dragged her weak, trembling body back home, and because there had been a lot of thefts lately, for safety's sake, she locked the steel door tightly, completely cutting herself off from the outside world. Then, she changed into clean clothes, and with great effort, steadied herself against the table, staggering over to the cupboard. She rummaged inside, pulled out a bottle of ergwater, and downed it in one go. After she barely regained some strength, she forced her weak body to fetch some firewood. Then, in a daze, she lit the stove, getting ready to boil water to disinfect her wound. She took a steaming hot towel from the pressure cooker and pressed it directly onto her inflamed, festering wound. The intense pain made her vision blur, and the persistent high fever caused her to fall into a coma again. Early next morning, a neighbor came to her house for food, but after knocking on the door for a long time without response, they assumed Suehua was on a trip with her husband. So, without thought, they took the food and left. At that moment, Suehua, awakened by the noise, also came to. But as her illness had worsened, she didn't have the strength to call for help. All she could do was drag her frail body over to the window. But as she opened the window, the other party had driven away. Helpless, she held onto a chair, forcing herself to stand, and reached for the rolling pin. She smashed the glass. But by then, the other party was already far away and didn't hear the sound of the glass breaking. This pushed Suehua to the brink of collapse. Her calf was festering and inflamed. Desperate, Suehua, with no medical knowledge, used a scalding hot towel to repeatedly press the wound over 10 times. But when she lifted the cloth, her leg was red and swollen from burns, yet the wound still bled and festered. Seeing it wasn't working, she grabbed materials to find a solution.
And if thy hand offend thee, cut it off. It is better for thee to enter halt into life.
Suehua never imagined that what started as a simple scratch from a wire would now leave her facing the possibility of amputation. Thinking of her beloved husband and adorable daughter, she made up her mind. She then grabbed a hemp rope and tied it tightly around her leg, took a large knife from the drawer, and put the knife into the stove to sterilize it. Meanwhile, her husband had already returned to the town and happened to run into a neighbor by the roadside. The neighbor asked Brother Chan why he hadn't seen his wife when he went to pick up bread today. Hearing this, the man was completely baffled. Sensing that something was wrong, he quickly entrusted the child to the neighbor, then jumped onto his carriage and rushed home as fast as he could. But just as he returned to the village, a villager stopped him along the way, saying that his family's cow had run over here and telling him to quickly take the cow back home. These words made the already anxious Brother Chan even more panicked. It was clear that something had happened to his wife. So he floored it, pushing the carriage to its limits until it was practically smoking, and raced home as fast as he could. As soon as he entered the house, he found his wife collapsed on the floor, unconscious. Fortunately, Suehua had cut away the infected tissue in time. Otherwise, at best she would have lost a leg, and at worst, her life would have been in danger. It was precisely his courage that allowed him to overcome the illness and be reborn. The whole family could finally breathe a sigh of relief. And with that, the film comes to an end. This story teaches us that if you get cut by rusty metal, you must see a doctor immediately. See you next time.